System Novel Volume 1. Chapter 1. The End of a Dream. Max leaned against the cold metal railing of the rooftop, gazing at the sprawling city below. The faint hum of traffic filled the air, a stark contrast to the chaos in his heart. In his hands was a neatly wrapped gift, a bracelet he had spent 3 months' worth of part-time job earnings to buy. It had been meant for Sarah, his girlfriend of 2 years, but now it felt like a cruel joke. "You're a nice guy, Max," Sarah had said just hours ago, her voice laced with pity. "But need someone who can give me a better future. You work so hard, but it's not enough. I'm sorry." Her words echoed in his mind like a haunting melody. He clenched the gift tightly, the pain in his chest almost unbearable. The same hands that had toiled at late-night shifts, cleaned tables, and carried heavy boxes were now shaking from the weight of rejection. For Sarah, his love hadn't been enough. His efforts hadn't been enough. And in that moment, Max felt like he wasn't enough. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Max made his way back to his small apartment. The one-room flat was humble, with peeling wallpaper and a leaky faucet, but it was his sanctuary. He tossed the gift onto the table and sank into the worn-out couch, his head in his hands. Just then, a robotic yet oddly soothing voice resonated in his mind. "Congratulations, Max. The popular system has successfully awakened." Max jolted upright, his eyes darting around the room. "Who's there?" he called out, his heart pounding. "There is no need to panic. I'm your system, a unique entity designed to assist you in achieving greatness. My existence is secret and cannot be shared with others." "System," Max whispered, unsure if he was hallucinating from exhaustion. What do you mean?" A transparent blue screen appeared before him, floating midair. On it were simple words. Personal information: name, Max. Age, 17. Height, 5 feet 9 inches. Physique, unavailable. Is this some kind of game? Max muttered, tentatively reaching out to touch the screen. His hand passed through it like mist. "This is not a game. It is an opportunity. Complete tasks, earn rewards, and grow stronger. Your journey begins now." Max blinked, still trying to process what was happening. Stronger, rewards, what kind of tasks? Another screen popped up. Task, prove yourself. Objective, perform 1 act of self-improvement. Reward, +1 popularity, unlock skill, basic focus. Self-improvement. Max frowned. What does that even mean? It means taking the first step toward a better version of yourself. The choice is yours, Max. He sat in silence, staring at the screen. His mind raced with possibilities. Was this real? Could this system actually help him? A spark of hope ignited within him, a small but undeniable flame. Standing up, Max glanced at the bracelet on the table. Sarah had rejected him, but that didn't mean he had to reject himself. He decided to start small. "I'll clean the apartment," he said aloud, his voice firm. For the next hour, Max worked tirelessly. He scrubbed the kitchen counter, swept the floor, and even fixed the leaky faucet. By the time he finished, the room felt brighter, and so did he. The system chimed again. Task completed. Reward granted. +1 popularity. Unlock skill. Basic focus. Max felt a subtle change within him, as if his mind had cleared and sharpened. The system's voice returned. "Congratulations, Max. Remember, greatness is built 1 step at a time. More tasks will be provided as you progress." Max sank back onto the couch, a faint smile tugging at his lips. For the first time in weeks, he felt a glimmer of hope. He didn't need Sarah. He didn't need anyone else to define his worth. He had the system, and with its help, he would become someone extraordinary. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. A New Beginning. The morning sun streamed through the cracked blinds, casting long streaks of light across the room. Max woke up feeling oddly refreshed. The events of the previous night replayed in his mind, but instead of disbelief, he felt a strange sense of anticipation. He reached out to the blue screen that still hovered faintly in the air. Personal information: name, Max. Age, 17. Height, 5 feet 9 inches. Physique, unavailable. Popularity, 1. Skills. Basic focus, 1/10. Popularity, 1, Max muttered, raising an eyebrow. Not sure what that means, but guess it's better than 0. The system chimed in, its robotic voice clear. Popularity measures how others perceive you. Higher popularity increases your charisma, confidence, and presence in social interactions. Sounds useful, Max said cautiously. And this skill, basic focus, what does that do? Basic focus enhances your ability to concentrate. It will aid you in tasks requiring sustained mental effort, such as studying or learning new skills. Max nodded slowly. All right, system, what's the next task? Another translucent screen appeared before him. Task, sharpen your mind. Objective, study for 1 uninterrupted hour. Reward, +1 popularity. Unlock skill, enhanced memory, study for an hour. Max groaned. He glanced at the stack of textbooks gathering dust on his desk. It wasn't the most exciting task, but he figured he had nothing to lose. Max settled at his desk, flipping open his math textbook. Numbers and equations swam before his eyes, but he pressed on, forcing himself to focus. The basic focus skill seemed to kick in almost immediately. Concepts that had previously felt overwhelming now seemed more manageable. He worked through problem after problem, the hour passing quicker than he expected. When the timer on his phone buzzed, the system's voice returned. Task completed. Reward granted. +1 popularity. Unlock skill. Enhanced memory. Max leaned back in his chair, a satisfied grin on his face. He felt sharper, as if a fog had lifted from his mind. The system explained the new skill. Enhanced memory improves your ability to retain and recall information. It is particularly useful in academics, problem solving, and learning complex skills. That's amazing, Max said, his excitement growing. This thing might actually change my life. Later that day, Max decided to test the system's impact in a real-world scenario. He headed to school, feeling more confident than he had in weeks. The hallways were bustling with students, but Max noticed something strange. People seemed to be looking at him differently. Hey, Max, a cheerful voice called out. It was Lisa, a girl from his math class. Normally, she barely acknowledged him. You were really focused in class today. Got any tips? Max blinked, momentarily caught off guard. Just take your time and break the problems into smaller steps, he said, surprised at how naturally the words came to him. Lisa smiled. Thanks, see you around. As she walked away, Max opened the system screen discreetly. Popularity, 3. 3, Max whispered, stunned. Is this really because of the system? The day continued in much the same way. Classmates who had ignored him before now seemed friendlier, and even the teachers seemed more impressed with his answers in class. By the time school ended, Max felt like he was walking on air. That evening, Max sat down to reflect on everything that had happened. The system was undeniably real, and it was already making a difference in his life. But he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. System, Max said, his voice steady. What's the ultimate goal here? Why are you helping me? For a moment, there was only silence. Then the system responded. The goal is what you make it, Max. Exists to help you become the best version of yourself. But remember, growth is a journey, not a destination. Max nodded, a determined look in his eyes. He didn't know where this path would lead, but He was ready to walk it. All right, system, let's do this. End of chapter 2, chapter 3, testing the waters. Max woke up early the next day, feeling more energized than ever. The system's impact was undeniable, and he was eager to see how much further he could push himself. The faint blue screen was still floating in the corner of his vision, almost like a silent companion. System, give me my next task, Max said as he stretched. Task, build physical strength. Objective, perform a 30-minute workout. Reward, +1 popularity, unlock physique attribute, a workout, huh? Max muttered, glancing at his wiry frame in the mirror. He had never been athletic, but if the system thought it was important, he figured it was worth a try. Max threw on some workout clothes and headed to the small park near his apartment. The morning air was crisp, and a few joggers passed by as he started with some light stretches. He followed up with push-ups, sit-ups, and jogging around the park. Halfway through, his muscles started burning, and he struggled to continue. But a voice in his mind encouraged him. Keep going, Max. Growth requires effort. Summoning his determination, Max pushed through the discomfort. By the time he finished, he was drenched in sweat but felt a strange sense of accomplishment. The system chimed. Task completed. Reward granted. +1 popularity. Unlock physique attribute. The screen updated before his eyes. Personal information. Name, Max. Age, 17. Height, 5 feet 9 inches. Physique, weak 1/10 popularity, 4. Skills. Basic focus 1/10. Enhanced memory 1/10 physique, huh, Max said, reading the update. Guess I've got a lot of room to improve. Physique determines your physical strength, stamina, and resilience. Higher levels will enhance your endurance and combat potential. Combat potential. Max raised an eyebrow. What do you need that for? The system didn't answer, and Max decided not to press the issue. Instead, he focused on what lay ahead. At school, Max's growing popularity became even more apparent. In the cafeteria, he found himself surrounded by classmates who wanted to talk to him. People who once overlooked him were now eager to include him in their conversations. Max, you're looking good lately, one of the soccer players said. Yeah, chimed in another. What's your secret? Max scratched the back of his head, unsure how to respond. Just trying to take care of myself, he said with a shrug. He glanced at the system screen discreetly. Popularity, 6. The number was climbing faster than he expected, and with it came new opportunities. That afternoon, Max headed to his part-time job at the local convenience store. As he restocked shelves, the system presented a new task. Task, develop a practical skill. Objective, learn to operate the store's register and assist 5 customers. Reward, unlock skill, basic business management. Max frowned at the task. Business management, why do you need that? Skills are the foundation of success. Practical knowledge will open doors to greater opportunities. Nodding, Max approached his supervisor. Hey, Mr. Allen, can't learn how to use the register. Mr. Allen, a middle-aged man with a gruff demeanor, looked surprised but nodded. Sure. Kid, about time you learned something useful. Max quickly picked up the basics of operating the register. By the end of his shift, he had served over 5 customers without any issues. The system chimed again as he clocked out. Task completed. Reward granted. Unlock skill. Basic business management. Skills. Basic focus 1/10. Enhanced memory 1/10. Basic business management 1/10. Max couldn't help but smile. He was starting to see the bigger picture. The system wasn't just about quick rewards, it was setting him up for long-term success. That evening, as Max walked home, he thought about how much his life had changed in just a few days. He had a sense of direction now, a purpose that went beyond just surviving. But deep down, he wondered, why me? Why did the system choose me? For now, the answers eluded him, but one thing was certain, this was only the beginning. End of chapter 3. Chapter 4, a glimpse of fame. Max's life had begun to shift in subtle yet undeniable ways. His focus and memory were sharper, his confidence growing with each completed task. And his popularity, measured by the system as a number, was starting to manifest in the real world. The morning at school began like any other, except Max noticed that people seemed to recognize him more. A few students waved as he entered the building, others nodded in acknowledgement, and whispers followed him in the hallways. Is that Max? He looks different these days. I heard he helped Lisa with math. She said he's a genius. In class, Max's hand shot up to answer a question about literature. He didn't usually participate, but something about his enhanced memory made it easier to recall what he had read. His answer was clear and confident, earning him an approving nod from the teacher. By the time lunch rolled around, Max was surprised to find an empty seat saved for him at one of the more crowded tables. Max, over here, called Jake, a classmate from the soccer team. Max hesitated for a moment but decided to join them. Normally, he would have eaten alone, but the attention was flattering, even if he wasn't used to it. Didn't know you were such a math whiz, Jake said with a grin. Where have you been hiding all this time? Max shrugged, smiling, just trying to do my best. The conversation flowed naturally, and Max found himself enjoying the company. He noticed that even the girls at the table were paying attention to him, laughing at his jokes and asking questions about his interests. As the day ended, Max's system chimed softly. Popularity increased, +2. Current popularity, 8. A translucent screen appeared before him. Current status. Popularity, 8 recognized by peers. Skill update. Enhanced memory 2/10, improved recall speed and accuracy. Max stared at the screen as he walked home. He could feel the difference now. He was becoming more noticeable, his presence harder to ignore. But with this newfound attention came an equal measure of curiosity. Would his rising popularity lead to opportunities, or would it attract problems? That evening, Max received his next task. Task, make an impression. Objective, participate in a school event and stand out. Reward, +5 popularity, unlock skill, public speaking 1/10. Max's first reaction was uncertainty. He wasn't exactly the type to join school events, let alone stand out in them. But as he read through the details, he realized that it was a chance to solidify his growing presence. There's a talent show next week, Max muttered, remembering an announcement he'd ignored earlier. Maybe that could work. The choice is yours, Max. The task does not specify the method, only the result, the system replied. Over the next few days, Max found himself preparing for the event. He wasn't particularly skilled at singing or dancing, but his newfound focus helped him decide on a simple yet effective idea, a magic trick routine. With the system enhancing his memory and focus, learning sleight of hand techniques became surprisingly easy. When the day of the talent show arrived, Max stood backstage, his heart racing. The auditorium was packed with students, and the chatter of excitement filled the air. He adjusted his jacket and took a deep breath. The lights dimmed as Max stepped onto the stage. He could feel the weight of hundreds of eyes on him, but instead of fear, he felt a strange calmness, a clarity brought on by the system. Good evening, everyone, Max began, his voice steady. I'm here to show you a little magic. He performed flawlessly, pulling off card tricks and disappearing coins with precision. The crowd's gasps and applause fueled his confidence, and by the end of his routine, he received a standing ovation. As he walked off stage, the system chimed. Task completed. Reward granted. +5 popularity. Unlock skill. Public speaking 1/10. Current status. Popularity 13. Noticed beyond peers. Skills. Public speaking 1/10. Increased confidence and clarity in delivering speeches. That evening, Max's name was on everyone's lips. His performance had earned him not just admiration, but something more, recognition. For the first time, he felt the weight of fame. And he knew his journey had only just begun. End of Chapter 4. Chapter 5. The Ripple Effect. The days following the talent show felt surreal for Max. Everywhere he went, students greeted him with enthusiasm. Strangers who had never acknowledged him before now wanted to strike up conversations. It was as if his performance had ignited a spark that couldn't be ignored. In the cafeteria, his usual quiet lunches had transformed into lively gatherings. His classmates invited him to sit with them, and some even asked for tips on performing or public speaking. You were amazing on stage, Max. A girl named Chloe said, her cheeks slightly flushed. How did you learn to be so confident? Max smiled, shrugging modestly. Just a lot of practice and focus, guess. Later that afternoon, as Max walked home, the system chimed again. Popularity increased, +3. Current popularity, 16. Current status. Popularity, 16. Recognized across school and social circles. 16. Max muttered, staring at the translucent screen. This is happening so fast. But even as he marveled at his growing fame, a small part of him felt uneasy. Was this sudden attention something he could handle? A new opportunity. The next day, Max was approached by one of the school's event coordinators, Mr. Larson. Max, Larson began, adjusting his glasses. Your performance at the talent show was exceptional. We're organizing a citywide youth festival next month, and think you'd be a great representative for our school. Max blinked in surprise. A citywide festival? Yes, Larson said. Students from all over will be participating. It's a great platform to showcase your talents. What do you say? The idea of performing in front of a larger audience both excited and terrified Max. He hesitated, but the system's voice broke the silence. This is a unique opportunity to significantly boost your popularity. Accepting this challenge aligns with your growth trajectory. Taking a deep breath, Max nodded. I'll do it. The preparation begins. Over the next few weeks, Max dedicated himself to preparing for the festival. With the system's help, he refined his skills, learning new tricks and enhancing his stage presence. The public speaking skill continued to improve, making him more charismatic and engaging. One evening, the system presented a new task. Task: expand your influence. Objective: impress at least one key figure during the youth festival. Reward: +10 popularity. Unlock skill: networking 1/10 networking. Max muttered. Networking enhances your ability to form meaningful connections with influential individuals, opening doors to future opportunities. Max couldn't deny the practicality of such a skill. If he wanted to navigate a world of fame and success, building connections was essential. Unexpected encounters. As Max trained, he began noticing subtle changes in how people treated him outside of school. The cashier at the convenience store he worked at smiled more warmly. Customers greeted him by name. Even his boss, Mr. Allen, seemed impressed by his new confidence. You're different these days, Max, Mr. Allen said one evening as they closed the store. Keep this up, and you'll go places. Max simply smiled, though he couldn't help but wonder how much of this was due to his efforts and how much was the system's influence. On the way home, Max decided to stop by a small cafe to relax. As he sipped his coffee, he overheard a group of older teenagers discussing the youth festival. That festival's a big deal, one of them said. The winner last year got scouted by a talent agency. Max's ears perked up. Scouted. He hadn't considered the possibility of real-world opportunities arising from the event. System, Max whispered. Does this festival have hidden benefits should know about? The festival is a stepping stone. Seizing this opportunity could accelerate your growth and open doors to greater fame. Max leaned back in his chair, his determination solidifying. Then I'd better give it everything I've got. The weight of expectations. As the festival approached, Max's nerves began to creep in. This wasn't just about a performance anymore. It was a chance to solidify his place in the world. One evening, as he practiced his routine, he received a message on his phone. It was from Chloe, the girl who had praised him after the talent show. Chloe, hey, Max. Heard you're performing at the festival. Just wanted to say good you'll do great then. Max smiled at the message, feeling a small boost of confidence. It was moments like these that reminded him why he was doing this, not just for fame, but to prove to himself that he could be more than just a quiet, overlooked kid. As the festival day loomed closer, Max stood before his mirror, staring at his reflection. This is it, he said to himself. The first real test. End of Chapter 5. Chapter 6. The Festival Stage. The day of the youth festival arrived, and Max found himself in the bustling city square. Transformed into a vibrant event venue, booths lined the streets, crowds mingled, and a massive stage dominated the center. The air buzzed with anticipation as performers prepared for their moments in the spotlight. Max stood backstage, his heart pounding. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, but he took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. Stay focused, Max, the system's voice echoed in his mind. This is your chance to rise. Stepping into the spotlight. When Max's name was announced, the crowd erupted into polite applause. He stepped onto the stage, the bright lights momentarily blinding him. Scanning the sea of faces, he saw not just his schoolmates but strangers, judges, and even a few prominent figures in the audience. Good afternoon, everyone, Max began, his voice clear and steady. His public speaking skill had kicked in, filling him with a confidence he hadn't expected. He launched into his performance, weaving together a series of intricate magic tricks that left the audience gasping. Coins vanished and reappeared, cards danced through the air as if alive, and even a seemingly solid ring melted through his arm like water. The crowd was captivated. By the time he bowed and thanked them, the applause was deafening. System notification. As Max stepped off the stage, the system chimed. Task completed. Reward granted. +10 popularity. Unlock skill. Networking 1/10. Current status. Popularity 26 known in local circles. Skills. Public speaking 2/10 improved confidence and persuasion. Networking 1/10 basic ability to build connections with influential individuals. Max smiled, feeling a surge of pride. His performance had exceeded even his own expectations. The aftermath. Backstage, several participants and organizers approached him, praising his routine. Among them was a tall, well-dressed man with sharp features and an air of authority. Max, right, the man said, extending a hand. I'm Richard Bennett, talent scout for Rising Star Productions. You have real potential. Max blinked in surprise, shaking his hand. Thank you, sir, that means a lot. Richard smiled. Have you ever considered taking your skills to the next level? We're always looking for fresh talent. Max hesitated. This was a golden opportunity, but he felt unprepared to make such a decision on the spot. I'll think about it, he said cautiously. Good, Richard said, handing him a business card. Call me when you're ready. As the festival wound down, Max noticed Chloe waiting near the exit. Her bright smile and encouraging wave lifted his spirits. You were amazing, Max, she said as he approached. Everyone's talking about your performance. Thanks, Max said, scratching the back of his head. Just wanted to do my best. Chloe's eyes sparkled. Well, you did more than that. You stood out. Max felt a warmth in her words. For the first time, he realized his fame wasn't just a number on the system, it was tangible, affecting how people saw him and interacted with him. A growing presence. That evening, as Max walked home, he reflected on the day's events. The festival had been a success, but it was also a turning point. His popularity was no longer confined to school, he was becoming known in wider circles. The system chimed softly. Popularity increased, +4. Current popularity, 30. Current status. Popularity, 30 recognized across the city. 30, Max whispered, staring at the number. His fame was growing steadily, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. What's next, system? Your next task will challenge your ability to navigate the complexities of fame. Prepare yourself, Max. The journey ahead will not be easy. Max nodded, determination hardening in his gaze. Whatever lay ahead, he was ready to face it. End of Chapter 6. Chapter 7, The Taste of Recognition. The following week at school was unlike anything Max had ever experienced. His performance at the festival had become the talk of the town, and word had spread rapidly among students, teachers, and even their parents. Max, you're incredible, one girl exclaimed as she handed him a flyer for the school paper, which featured him on the cover. Man, you're a local celebrity now, Jake said, slapping him on the back during lunch. Max could only smile, feeling a mix of pride and disbelief. His once quiet days were now filled with conversations, invitations, and endless questions. The system's guidance. That evening, as Max sat in his room, the system chimed with a new task. Task, handle attention gracefully. Objective, use your newfound fame to make a positive impact. Reward, +5 popularity, unlock skill, time management 1/10. Max read the task carefully. Fame was a double-edged sword, and the system seemed intent on teaching him to wield it properly. How to make a positive impact? Max asked aloud. Opportunities will present themselves. Your role is to recognize and act upon them, the system replied. An unexpected chance. The next day, Max overheard a conversation in the school's hallway. I wish we had more funding for the art club, a girl said, her voice tinged with frustration. We've got so much talent, but we're barely scraping by. Max paused, considering her words. The art club had been struggling for years, often overshadowed by sports teams and other high-profile activities. An idea sparked in his mind. Later, during lunch, he approached the girl, whose name he remembered as Sophie. Hey, heard you talking about the art club earlier, Max said. What if we organized a fundraiser, could perform a few tricks, and we could showcase the club's work to attract donations? Sophie's eyes widened. You'd really do that? Why not? Max said with a grin. It's a win-win. The club gets funding, and get to perform again. Planning the event. Within days, the school was abuzz with excitement. Flyers for the Art and Magic Night were plastered everywhere, and students volunteered to help organize the event. Max worked tirelessly, coordinating with Sophie and her friends while also preparing a new set of tricks. His networking skill proved invaluable, allowing him to connect with teachers, local businesses, and even a few sponsors. The event's success. On the night of the event, the school auditorium was packed. Students, parents, and even local reporters filled the seats, eager to see the show. Max took the stage with his signature confidence. His tricks were more elaborate this time, blending sleight of hand with storytelling. Each act flowed seamlessly into the next, leaving the audience spellbound. But it wasn't just about the magic. Max made sure to highlight the art club's work, inviting Sophie and her friends to showcase their paintings and sculptures between his performances. By the end of the night, the event had raised more than enough funds for the art club, and the audience gave Max a standing ovation. System notification. As Max left the stage, the system chimed. Task completed. Reward granted. +5 popularity. Unlock skill. Time management 1/10. Current status. Popularity. 35 recognized as a community figure. Skills. Public speaking 2/10. Networking 2/10. Improved ability to build meaningful connections. Time management 1/10. Enhanced efficiency in handling multiple responsibilities. Max smiled as he checked his stats. He could feel himself growing, not just in fame but also in capability. The ripple effect. The success of the event didn't just boost the art club's morale, it also cemented Max's reputation as a leader and problem solver. Teachers began to treat him with more respect, and even students who had previously ignored him started seeking his advice. At home, Max couldn't help but reflect on how much his life had changed in such a short time. From a quiet, overlooked teenager to someone who could bring people together, his journey was just beginning. What's next, system? Max asked, his eyes gleaming with determination. You are on the path to greatness, Max. Stay vigilant. Bigger opportunities and challenges await. End of Chapter 7. Chapter 8, Climbing the Ladder. Max's life continued to transform after the success of the Art and Magic Night. His fame had grown beyond the school, spilling into the local community. Small businesses invited him to perform at their events, and students from other schools recognized him. The system's influence was clear, but Max was careful not to let it show. To everyone else, his rise was the result of his talent and hard work. A new challenge. One day, as Max was reviewing his schoolwork at home, the system interrupted. Task issued. Build your first network outside Shoal. Objective. Establish a meaningful connection with an influential individual. Reward. +7 popularity. Networking skill 3/10. Max frowned. Outside school. How am I supposed to do that? Your recent fame has drawn the attention of individuals beyond your immediate circle. Use this opportunity to expand your reach. The system was cryptic as usual, but Max trusted its guidance. A surprising invitation. A week later, Max received an email from Richard Bennett, the talent scout he had met at the Youth Festival. Subject. Exciting opportunity. Hi Max. It was a pleasure seeing your performance at the Youth Festival. I'd like to invite you to a networking dinner hosted by Rising Star Productions. It's a chance to meet influential figures in the entertainment and business industries. Looking forward to hearing from you, Richard Bennett. Max's heart raced as he read the email. A networking dinner with influential figures. This was the perfect chance to complete the task. He quickly replied, confirming his attendance. The networking dinner. The evening of the dinner arrived, and Max found himself standing outside an upscale restaurant. Dressed in his best outfit, he stepped inside, feeling slightly out of place among the polished guests. Max, Richard greeted him warmly. Glad you could make it. Richard introduced him to several guests, including business executives, event organizers, and even a few minor celebrities. Max's networking skill kicked in, helping him navigate conversations with ease. As the night progressed, Max found himself talking to Emily Carter, a young entrepreneur who owned a successful event planning company. You've got talent, Max, Emily said, her tone genuine. Have you ever considered branching out into motivational speaking or workshops? Your story could inspire a lot of people. Max hesitated. He'd never thought about using his platform that way, but the idea intrigued him. I'd love to explore that, he said. Any advice on where to start? Emily smiled. Let's stay in touch. Can connect you with the right people. She handed him her card. System notification. Later that night, as Max returned home, the system chimed. Task completed. Reward granted. +7 popularity. Networking skill 3/10. Current status. Popularity. 42 recognized in local and emerging professional circles. Skills. Public speaking 2/10. Networking 3/10. Enhanced ability to build connections across industries. Time management 1/10. Max smiled as he reviewed his progress. The dinner had been a success, and he was one step closer to his goals. Building momentum. Over the next few weeks, Max began collaborating with Emily, helping her organize events while learning the ropes of professional networking. His charm and charisma, bolstered by the system, made him a natural at connecting with people. With each event, his reputation grew. Local newspapers began featuring him in articles, describing him as a rising star with a promising future. A glimpse of the hidden world. One evening, while assisting Emily at a high-profile gala, Max overheard a conversation between two older men. You hear about the Marshall Society's meeting next month? One man said. Of course, the other replied. They're trying to decide who'll represent the region in the international summit. Max's curiosity was piqued. Marshall Society, International Summit. These sounded far removed from his current world, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were connected to the system's mysterious hints about Marshall Masters. System, Max whispered later that night, is this related to my path? Yes, Marshall Societies are key to understanding the hidden power structures of the world. You are not ready yet, but soon you will be. Max's excitement mixed with apprehension. The world was clearly much larger and more complex than he had ever imagined. The next step. For now, Max decided to focus on his current tasks. Fame was growing, opportunities were multiplying, and the system was guiding him steadily forward. But in the back of his mind, he couldn't stop thinking about the Marshall Society. What's next, system? He asked, his gaze filled with determination. Your journey has just begun, Max. Prepare yourself. The challenges ahead will test your resolve and unlock your true potential. End of Chapter 8. Would you like to continue with Chapter 9? Chapter 9, a glimpse behind the curtain. The following week, Max's routine shifted as his popularity continued to grow. His newfound fame brought both opportunities and challenges, but he managed to balance everything with the system's help. An unexpected encounter. One Friday afternoon, Max received a message from Emily Carter. Hi Max. There's an exclusive gathering this weekend at the Grand Horizon Hotel. It's a mix of entrepreneurs, creatives, and a few special guests. Think it could be beneficial for you to attend. Let me know if you're interested. Max's heart raced as he read the message. Emily rarely suggested events lightly, and her mention of special guests piqued his curiosity. He replied quickly, confirming his attendance. The Grand Horizon event. The Grand Horizon Hotel was one of the most luxurious venues in the city. As Max entered the grand ballroom, he was struck by the opulence, crystal chandeliers, elegant decor, and a crowd of impeccably dressed individuals. Emily greeted him warmly and introduced him to a few notable attendees. Among them was a stern-looking man in his mid-40s with a commanding presence. This is Mr. James Cross, Emily said. He's one of the leading figures in the business world and has a keen interest in promising young talents like you, Max. Max extended his hand. It's an honor to meet you, sir. James shook his hand firmly. I've heard about your recent endeavors, young man. You have potential. Tell me, what drives you? Max hesitated for a moment before replying. The desire to make an impact, sir. Want to use my abilities to create opportunities and inspire others. James nodded approvingly. Good answer. Ambition tempered by purpose. Keep that mindset, and you'll go far. The hidden guest. As the evening progressed, Max noticed a peculiar figure, a man in his late 30s with sharp eyes and an aura of quiet authority. He wasn't mingling with the crowd but seemed to be observing them closely. When Max asked Emily about him, her expression shifted slightly. That's Alexander Wolf, she said in a hushed tone. Let's just say he's involved in things that most people don't talk about. A powerful man, but not someone you approach lightly. Max's curiosity deepened. Was Alexander connected to the Marshall Society or the hidden world the system had hinted at? System notification. Later that night, as Max left the event, the system chimed. Hidden task issued. Observe the hidden powers. Objective. Gain insights into the secret world of Marshall Societies and their influence. Reward. +10 popularity. Unlock Marshall awareness 1/10. Max felt a chill run down his spine. This was the first time the system had given him a task tied so explicitly to the mysterious hidden world. What's Marshall awareness? He asked. It is the ability to sense and understand the presence of martial power and its practitioners. A crucial skill for navigating the challenges ahead. A meeting with Alexander. Determined to complete the task, Max decided to approach Alexander Wolf directly. He found him near the hotel's balcony, gazing out at the city lights. Mr. Wolf, Max said cautiously, I couldn't help but notice you earlier. You seem different from everyone else here. Alexander turned to him, his sharp eyes assessing Max. And you are? Max, he replied, trying to project confidence. I'm here to learn and grow, and feel there's something about you that could teach me IOT. Alexander studied him for a moment before speaking. You have a sharp eye for someone your age. Tell me, Max, what do you know about the forces that shape this world? Max hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. Not much, but I'm eager to learn. A faint smile crossed Alexander's face. Good. Curiosity is the first step toward understanding. Perhaps we'll meet again. With that, Alexander walked away, leaving Max with more questions than answers. System notification. Task progress, 50%. Continue exploring the hidden powers to complete the task. Max clenched his fists, determined to uncover the truth about this hidden world. The path forward. Back home, Max reflected on the night's events. His encounter with Alexander had been brief, but it had opened a door to a world far beyond his current understanding. What's next, system? He asked. Continue building your influence and preparing for the challenges ahead. The hidden world is watching you, Max. Make sure you're ready. Max nodded, his resolve firm. The journey was becoming more complex, but he wouldn't back down. End of Chapter 9. Chapter 10. Stepping into the shadows. The days following the Grand Horizon event were a whirlwind of activity. Max's encounter with Alexander Wolf had left him more curious than ever about the hidden world, and the system's cryptic hints only fueled his determination to learn more. At school, Max maintained his usual routine, but his mind often drifted to the mysterious task. The system had tasked him with observing the hidden powers, but so far, his progress felt incomplete. An unexpected message. One evening, while Max was working on homework, his phone buzzed. The message was from an unknown number. Unknown, if you're truly curious about the forces shaping this world, meet me at the old library at 9 p.m. tonight. Come alone. Max's heart raced. There was no name attached, but he couldn't shake the feeling that Alexander Wolf was behind the message. System, is this related to the task? Max asked. Yes, proceed with caution. Despite the warning, Max felt a surge of excitement. This could be the breakthrough he needed. The meeting at the library. The old library was a relic from another era, its stone facade weathered in its windows. Dark. Max arrived a few minutes before 9 p.m., the street eerily quiet. As he stepped inside, he saw Alexander Wolf standing by a dusty bookshelf, his sharp eyes scanning the room. You came, Alexander said, his tone neutral. Max nodded. Want to know the truth? Alexander studied him for a moment before gesturing for him to follow. Tell me, Max, Alexander said as they walked deeper into the library, what do you think separates the powerful from the powerless? Max considered the question. Knowledge and the ability to act on it, he replied. Alexander smiled faintly. A good answer. Knowledge is power, but in our world, power is also hidden. He stopped in front of a locked door, placing his hand on it. A faint glow appeared as the lock clicked open, revealing a dimly lit room filled with ancient books and strange artifacts. The hidden world unveiled. This, Alexander said, gesturing to the room, is a glimpse of the world most people will never see. Martial societies, hidden families, and ancient secrets, all of it exists alongside the ordinary lives of people like you. Max's eyes widened as he took in the sight. Why show me this? Because you've caught their attention, Alexander replied. Your rise in popularity and your innate talent have not gone unnoticed. There are those who see potential in you, and those who see a threat. Max's mind raced. Who are they? You'll learn in time, Alexander said. For now, consider this a warning. The higher you climb, the more dangerous the game becomes. System notification. As Alexander spoke, the system chimed. Task completed. Reward granted. +10 popularity. Unlock martial awareness 1/10. Current status. Popularity, 52. Emerging figure of intrigue. Skills. Public speaking 2/10. Networking 3/10. Time management 1/10. Martial awareness 1/10. Ability to sense the presence of martial energy and practitioners. Max felt a strange sensation wash over him, a faint awareness of something intangible in the room. He looked at Alexander, who seemed to sense it too. You're starting to awaken, Alexander said. The system you rely on is more than a tool, it's a key to unlocking your true potential. Max's eyes narrowed. You know about the system. Alexander chuckled. More than you realize, but that's a conversation for another time. The path ahead. As Max left the library, his mind was buzzing with questions. The hidden world was real, and he was now a part of it. But the stakes were higher than he had imagined. What, as next, system? He asked as he walked home. Continue developing your skills and influence. The hidden powers will test you, but you are destined to rise above them. Max clenched his fists, his resolve stronger than ever. The road ahead was uncertain, but he was ready to face whatever challenges came his way. End of Volume 1. Chapter 11. Shadows and Strings. Max's world had changed irreversibly. The information he had uncovered in the hidden library had given him a glimpse into a reality that few knew existed. Martial societies, ancient secrets, and powerful families all pulling invisible strings behind the scenes. It was all too much to comprehend in one night. Yet, as the days passed, Max found himself unable to shake the feeling that he was being watched, that his every move was being evaluated. A quiet warning. It was a few days after the meeting with Alexander when Max received a cryptic message from an unknown number. Unknown, stay away from the wolves, Max. They have no loyalty, only ambition. You're better off staying where you are. Max stared at the message for a long time. The warning felt familiar, like a veiled threat. It wasn't hard to guess who the wolves referred to. It could only be Alexander and his mysterious associates. He immediately opened the system. System, Max asked cautiously. What does this mean? Is it a warning? Yes, there are factions at play, Max. Some wish to use you, others will try to control you. Your path is yours to choose, but beware of those who offer too much too quickly. Max's mind raced. And what if refuse to be used? What if go after these powers myself? That would make you a target. But you are not powerless. Continue building your influence. The system will guide you, but the choices are yours to make. Max clenched his fists. There was no turning back now. His rise would be met with resistance, but he wasn't about to back down. The next step. The system presented Max with another task shortly after. Task issued. Gain influence in the business world. Objective. Secure a partnership with a prominent business figure or company. Reward. +10 popularity. Business acumen 1/10. Max knew this was another opportunity to expand his influence. While his rise in popularity had been organic, he now had to actively seek connections that could propel him forward. He reached out to Emily Carter for advice. Need to make a deal. Something big. Can you point me in the right direction? Emily raised an eyebrow, sensing the seriousness in Max's voice. You're thinking of making a major move, huh? Know a few people, but you'll need more than just talent for this. You'll need a strong position. Max wasn't sure what she meant, but Emily's words planted a seed of doubt. What would it take to truly succeed in this world of power and hidden influence? The encounter with the tycoon. A few days later, Emily arranged for Max to meet a powerful figure in the business world, Victor Hall, a real estate mogul with ties to some of the most influential people in the city. The meeting took place in an elegant restaurant, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. Victor Hall was everything Max expected, tall, impeccably dressed, and exuding an aura of authority. He had the air of someone who could make or break a person with a simple word. Max, Victor greeted, extending his hand. I've heard quite a bit about you. People are calling you a rising star, but wonder, how far are you willing to go to succeed? Max shook his hand, locking eyes with the man. As far as it takes, he replied, his voice steady. Victor chuckled. That's the spirit, but understand this, success in this world isn't just about talent or hard work. It's about knowing who to trust, and who to eliminate. Max took a deep breath. This was the game, the one Alexander had warned him about. The business world, just like the hidden societies, was a battlefield. System notification. Later that evening, as Max reflected on the meeting, the system chimed. Task completed. Reward granted. +10 popularity. Business acumen 1/10. Current status. Popularity 62. Recognized in both local and emerging business circles. Skills. Public speaking 2/10. Networking 3/10. Time management 1/10. Martial awareness 1/10. Business acumen 1/10. Basic understanding of business negotiations and strategies. Max reviewed his progress, feeling the weight of his choices. Business was becoming a battleground of its own, and the game he had entered was far from simple. The hidden hand. Over the next few weeks, Max continued building his business connections. However, he noticed something strange. His every move seemed to be monitored. He received unexpected calls, some from people he didn't know, others from acquaintances who suddenly seemed overly interested in his activities. One evening, as Max was leaving a meeting with one of his new business partners, he was approached by a man in a dark suit. The man spoke in a low, calm voice. You're starting to attract attention, Max. The kind of attention that comes with consequences. Max tensed. Who are you? The man didn't answer directly. Just a messenger. There are others who want to speak with you. If you're serious about the path you've chosen, you'll meet with them. Max's pulse quickened. Where and when? The man handed him a small card. The location is on the back. Don't make them wait. As the man disappeared into the crowd, Max felt a surge of unease. The game was only just beginning. System notification. As he walked back to his apartment, the system chimed again. Task issued. Meet the mysterious group. Prepare yourself for the upcoming challenges. Max's mind was racing, but he knew this was a pivotal moment. The pieces were falling into place, and soon, he would be forced to choose a side. What am I getting into? He muttered under his breath. You are getting closer to your destiny, the system replied cryptically. But remember, Max, no one walks this path alone. Max clutched the card tightly, his heart pounding with anticipation. He was stepping into the shadows, but he was ready. He had to be. End of chapter 11. Chapter 12, the meeting in the dark. Max couldn't shake the feeling that his life was spiraling into a world he wasn't fully prepared for. The message had been clear. He was being drawn into something bigger than himself, something that would change everything. He had known, from the moment the system awakened, that his life would never be the same. But now, it felt like the ground beneath him was shifting in ways he couldn't predict. The hidden location. The card had led Max to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. As he stood outside, the night air heavy with anticipation, he felt the familiar chill of being watched. His instincts told him to turn back, but there was no turning back now. He pushed open the heavy door and entered. The place was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of dust and disuse. Max could barely make out the figures standing in the shadows, their presence like a weight pressing down on him. You made it, a voice called out from the darkness. Max's eyes narrowed, trying to adjust to the dim lighting. He could make out a few figures moving toward him, and then a man stepped forward, tall, with sharp features and a cold smile. Assume you're Max, the man said, his tone neutral. I'm Marcus Cole. Max nodded slowly. What's this about? Who are you people? Marcus smiled, a predatory gleam in his eyes. We are a collective of sorts, a group that deals in matters beyond the scope of ordinary people. We know who you are, Max, and we know what you've been doing. Max felt a flicker of unease. What do you want from me? Nothing, Marcus said smoothly, for now, but we have a proposal. You're not the only one with ambition. There are others, powerful people who want what you're after. BWE can help you. In return, you'll do us a favor. Max kept his expression neutral, but the hair on the back of his neck stood up. This was not an ordinary offer. These were people with their own agendas, and getting involved with them could have far-reaching consequences. Opposition. Marcus gestured to one of the shadows, and a woman stepped forward. She was tall, with long dark hair and piercing blue eyes. Her presence was commanding, and Max immediately sensed that she was someone who commanded respect. This is Sophia, Marcus continued. She'll be your contact. She can give you the tools you need to further your goals. But first, you must prove your loyalty. Loyalty. The word hung in the air, heavy with implication. Max didn't speak immediately. His mind was racing. The system had warned him about such groups, but his curiosity and drive for power pushed him to listen further. If he was going to rise above the forces that would try to control him, he needed allies. But how far could he trust these people? Sophia spoke up. We have a mission for you. A simple one, really. A business rival of ours has become too ambitious. We need him out of the way. We provide the resources, but we need you to take care of the rest. Max blinked in surprise. You want me to eliminate him? Not eliminate, Marcus corrected. Just remove him from the picture. Make sure he can't interfere with our business operations. There's a lot of money at stake, and we can't afford complications. Max's mind whirled. This was the kind of task that would force him into the kind of morally gray area he had hoped to avoid. But as the system's voice echoed in his mind, telling him that this was a step toward his greater goals, he couldn't help but feel the temptation to go through with it. System notification. As if on cue, the system chimed. Task issued. Eliminate the business rival. Prepare for a test of loyalty. Objective. Neutralize the rival businessman. Reward. +1 popularity. +5 business acumen. Martial awareness 2/10. Max clenched his fists. He was being pulled deeper into this hidden world, and with every choice, the stakes grew higher. A dangerous game. Don't worry, Sophia said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. We'll make sure you have everything you need. You're already on the path to success, Max. All you need to do is make the right moves. Max's gaze hardened. I'll do it. The words left his mouth before he could fully process them. Something inside him had snapped into place. He wasn't a pawn in their game. He was a player. The preparations. Later that night, as Max walked back to his apartment, the weight of the task ahead settled heavily on his shoulders. The system had rewarded him for the decision, but the price of success was becoming clearer by the second. He knew this task would not be as simple as it seemed. To remove a rival from the picture meant more than just business tactics. It could mean dirty tricks, manipulation, and possibly something even darker. But the system had told him that this was a test. If he wanted to rise above the chaos, he had to be willing to make difficult decisions. The first step. Max's first move was to gather information. He couldn't afford to rush into anything without understanding the full scope of the situation. His target was Daniel Winters, a businessman who had recently been encroaching on Marcus and Sophia's territory. He wasn't as powerful as the elite figures Max had encountered, but his connections were formidable, and he had a reputation for ruthlessness. Max used his growing network to find out everything he could about Daniel. Late into the night, he sifted through data, business records, and anything else he could find. The more he leaned, the clearer it became that Daniel was a threat to more than just Marcus and his group. His ambitions were much broader. It was this kind of ambition that could bring about the kind of chaos Max wanted to avoid, but it was also the kind of ambition that could propel him to the top. System notification. New task issued. Investigate Daniel Winters' operations and vulnerabilities. Prepare for the next phase. Max felt his pulse quicken. He was on the verge of something big, something that could change everything. As he stared at the screen, the gravity of his choices weighed down on him. There was no going back now. He was stepping into a world of shadows, where every move he made could cost him more than just his reputation. But in this game, to rise was to play with fire. And Max was ready to burn. End of chapter 12. Chapter 13. The Web Titans. Max's investigation into Daniel Winters' operations was proving more complicated than he had initially anticipated. What had seemed like a simple business rivalry was starting to reveal a much darker, more dangerous web of connections. Daniel wasn't just a businessman, he was deeply entrenched in the underworld, with ties to both legitimate enterprises and shady dealings. The more Max dug, the more he realized that taking him down would be no easy task. The hidden depths. Max sat in front of his laptop late into the night, scanning through a series of encrypted files. He had already contacted several of his new business associates for information, but this wasn't enough. Daniel had set up a complex network, one that spanned across industries and even involved politicians. The deeper Max went, the more he understood that this wasn't just about business, it was about power. Daniel was playing a dangerous game of manipulation, and now, Max was tangled in it. The system had given him the task to investigate Daniel's vulnerabilities, and Max was determined to complete it. But there was something unsettling about what he was uncovering. Daniel had access to resources that could make anyone disappear, and he had no qualms about using them. The warning signs. As Max continued his research, a notification pinged on his phone. It was from an unknown number, just like the last one. Max hesitated before opening it, his fingers trembling slightly. Unknown, you're getting too close. Step back now, before it's too late. Max's heart skipped a beat. The message was clear. Someone knew what he was doing. Was it Daniel, or perhaps someone else, someone even more dangerous? Max pushed the message aside for now, but the unease lingered. He couldn't afford to be distracted. The task had been issued, and he had to finish it. The encounter. The following evening, as Max was leaving a meeting with Emily, he received another message, this time, from Marcus. Marcus Cole, you've done well, Max. But be careful, not everyone in our circle is on your side. Watch your back. Max's brows furrowed. He couldn't tell if Marcus was warning him as a friend or simply ensuring his loyalty. The more he interacted with this world, the more it felt like there were layers of deception he couldn't see. But one thing was certain, people in power didn't offer advice without expecting something in return. That night, Max couldn't shake the feeling that he was being followed. He'd been careful, he had always been aware of his surroundings, but tonight, the sensation was stronger than ever. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up as he made his way through the darkened streets. Suddenly, a figure stepped out of the shadows. Max, a low voice called. I've been waiting for you. Max stopped in his tracks, heart pounding. The figure was tall, dressed in black, with a hood obscuring their face. Max instinctively reached for his phone, but before he could react, the figure spoke again. I'm here to help, the figure said. You've been digging into Daniel Winters, haven't you? Max didn't speak immediately. He wasn't sure whether to trust this stranger or not, but something about the way they spoke intrigued him. I'm listening, Max replied cautiously. A new ally. The figure pulled back their hood, revealing a woman with sharp features and striking green eyes. My name is Iris, she said, and I've been keeping an eye on you. You're getting too close to Daniel, and you're not ready for what you'll find. Max's pulse quickened. What do you mean? Iris took a step closer, lowering her voice. Daniel Winters is more than a business rival. He's connected to some very dangerous people, people who control much more than just the business world. If you keep going down this path, you'll be crossing lines you can't uncross. Max's mind raced. He had known that Daniel was a threat, but he hadn't realized the full scope of it. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was about survival. I'm not afraid, Max said, his voice steady. Need to know everything. If back down now, I'll never get ahead. Iris studied him for a moment, as if weighing his words. Finally, she nodded. I can help you, but you need to understand something. People like Daniel don't play fair. If you want to take him down, you'll need to be willing to do whatever it takes. Max's gaze hardened. I'm ready. Iris smirked. We'll see about that. The plan. Over the next few days, Iris became an unexpected ally. She had access to resources Max hadn't even known existed, and together, they started formulating a plan to take Daniel Winters down. Iris introduced Max to a network of people who operated in the shadows, hackers, spies, and informants. They weren't interested in making money or gaining fame. Their loyalty lay with whoever could offer them the most power, and right now, that was Max. As Max's influence continued to grow, he found himself increasingly drawn into the world of hidden deals, political maneuvering, and corporate sabotage. The system, which had been his guide since the beginning, now seemed to offer him a new kind of power, one that came with its own dark consequences. System notification. As Max sat at his desk, reviewing the final details of his plan to confront Daniel, the system chimed in. Task completed. Investigate Daniel Winters' operations and vulnerabilities. Reward granted. +10 popularity. Business acumen 2/10. Martial awareness 2/10. Max nodded as the information flooded his mind. With each passing day, his skills in business and combat were improving. But he couldn't afford to be complacent. Daniel was a formidable opponent, and taking him down wouldn't be as simple as pulling the strings of power. Max stared at the screen for a long moment, realizing just how deep he had fallen into this dangerous world. But now, there was no turning back. The system had given him the tools, and with Iris by his side, he was ready for whatever came next. The game continues. As Max prepared for the final phase of his plan, the message from the unknown number flashed across his screen again. Unknown, it's not too late to walk away, Max. Once you cross this line, there's no going back. Max ignored it. He knew there was no turning back now. He was playing the game, and in this game, the stakes were life and death. And he was ready to win. End of chapter 13. Chapter 14, a weapon for the future. Max stood at the edge of the building's rooftop, gazing out over the city below. The sky was darkening, the soft hum of the streets rising up to meet him. A quiet wind stirred his hair, but Max's focus wasn't on the breeze, it was on the path ahead. In the few short weeks since he had allied with Iris, Max's world had shifted dramatically. He was now entangled in a web of power players, each one more dangerous and influential than the last. He had made enemies, but also allies, powerful ones who had begun to respect him. With each ally, his popularity and influence grew, but so did the risks. System notification. As Max reflected on his growing network, the familiar chime of the system rang in his mind. Popularity increased. Current popularity, 32/100. ***** available rewards. Weapon shop, available. Martial skills, available. Business resources, available. Task completed. Gain new allies. Reward granted. +5 popularity. Martial awareness 2/10. Max's eyes lit up as he saw the available rewards. The system had opened up new options. With his increased popularity, he now had access to more powerful weapons, martial skills, and business resources. Each task he completed, each ally he gained, brought him closer to becoming the leader he had always aspired to be. But Max knew that the real power lay in his choices, choosing the right weapons, the right martial skills, and the right resources to ensure his survival. The better he managed his popularity, the more influence he would gain over both allies and enemies. The weapon shop. Max was eager to see what weapons the system could offer now that he had accumulated a significant amount of popularity. With the stakes rising, he needed something more than just information and influence. He needed power. He opened the weapon shop interface and began browsing. His eyes narrowed as he scrolled through the options, each weapon more advanced than the last. Weapon options. 1. Combat knife, a lightweight blade designed for quick strikes. Cost, 10 popularity effect, increases agility in close combat, small but deadly. 2. Silver fang sword, a sword with a silver-coated blade, designed for precision strikes. Cost, 30 popularity. Effect, enhances skill-based attacks, increases critical hit chances. 3. Energy revolver, a high-tech revolver that uses energy cells instead of bullets. Cost, 50 popularity. Effect, high-powered shots that can pierce through most defenses. Requires advanced skill to master. 4. Phantom Dagger, a dagger capable of phase shifting through solid objects. Cost, 100 popularity. Effect, allows the user to phase through solid barriers and strike from unexpected angles. 5. Heavy Plasma Rifle, a powerful ranged weapon capable of emitting concentrated plasma beams. Cost, 200 popularity. Effect, long range, powerful plasma shots capable of disintegrating most targets. Requires high stamina and focus to wield effectively. Max hesitated. His popularity was at 32, which meant he had enough to buy the Silver Fang sword or the energy revolver. Both would serve him well in the battles ahead, but he had to choose wisely. The sword would enhance his close combat skills, while the revolver would give him long-range capabilities. After a moment of contemplation, Max decided that the sword would suit his current needs more. Close combat was where he thrived, and the Silver Fang sword would amplify his skill. Purchase confirmed. You have acquired the Silver Fang sword. Max could feel the weight of the sword materialize in his hand. It was perfectly balanced, the silver blade gleaming even in the dim light. He could already feel the increase in his agility as if the sword had become an extension of his own body. A new ally, Lucas Hawk. Max's thoughts were interrupted as his phone buzzed. It was an incoming message from LRIS. Iris, we need to meet. I've arranged something with an ally of mine. He could be of use too. You, Max. Max set off to meet Iris at the usual location, a secluded cafe in the heart of the city. When he arrived, he saw Iris sitting in a corner booth with a tall man who exuded a quiet, confident aura. His sharp eyes seemed to be assessing Max the moment he walked in. This is Lucas Hawk, Iris said. He's a rising star in the underground world, and if you're serious about taking on Daniel Winters, you'll want him by your side. Lucas extended a hand, his grip firm but not overpowering. Here you're making waves in the business world, Max, he said. I've been watching you, like what, see? Max shook his hand, studying him carefully. Lucas wasn't just a businessman, he had a reputation for dealing with high-level threats in the shadows. If anyone could help Max with his growing list of enemies, it was him. The task, remove Daniel Winters' network. Iris slid a folder across the table. This is Daniel's network. I've managed to dig up some of his allies, but there are still a lot of people we need to get rid of. We can't afford any loose ends. Max nodded. He'd been expecting something like this. Daniel wasn't going to go down easily, and the closer Max got to him, the more dangerous the game would become. Lucas spoke up, his tone calm and calculated. I've already arranged a few things. We'll hit him where it hurts. His connections in the military. If we can disrupt that, he'll be forced to deal with us. System notification. Task issued. Disrupt Daniel Winters' network. Target key individuals involved in military connections. Reward upon completion. +10 popularity. Business acumen 3/10. Martial awareness 3/10. Max could feel the tension rising. This was it, the beginning of the end for Daniel Winters. And with it, Max would continue to rise in power, influence, and popularity. The path forward. As Max prepared for the operation, he couldn't help but think about the future. The more popularity he gained, the more powerful weapons and abilities would be at his disposal. He could already see how each choice would shape his future. His popularity was growing, and so was his power. With Lucas and Iris by his side, Max knew that his enemies would soon learn the true cost of underestimating him. End of Chapter 14. Chapter 15. The First Strike. The city's skyline glistened under the glow of the moonlight, but to Max, it was more than just a beautiful sight, it was a battlefield. He stood on the balcony of his apartment, looking out over the sprawling city, his thoughts focused on the task ahead. Daniel Winters' network was vast, and the more Max learned about it, the more he realized how much danger he was in. Every move had to be calculated, every ally secured. Iris and Lucas had been crucial in preparing for the first strike, but Max knew it was up to him to execute it. His popularity had increased again, and with it, his confidence. He was no longer just a player in the business world, he was moving into the realm of power, of influence, and of dangerous allies. System notification. Task progress. Disrupt Daniel Winters' network. Targeting military connections. Progress. 20% complete. Available rewards. +5 popularity. +2 martial skills combat focus. New weapon. Tactical shotgun. Requires 40 popularity. Max's gaze shifted to the glowing notification on his phone. The task was progressing well. But it wasn't over yet. Daniel's military connections were formidable, and if he wasn't careful, he could find himself in a fight he wasn't ready for. The tactical shotgun would be a useful weapon, but it would take more than just firepower to take down someone like Daniel. Max took a deep breath and clicked on the combat focus skill. The system's rewards for completing tasks were becoming more significant, and the added martial skills would give him the edge he needed. Combat focus activated. Effect. Enhances focus and reflexes during combat. Increases reaction time and combat efficiency. Duration. 24 hours. Trademark. Max felt a surge of energy as the combat focus skill activated. His senses sharpened, and for a moment, he could hear the faintest sounds in the distance, the fluttering of leaves from far below. He was ready. The plan in motion. The target was Major Ryan Heller, a high-ranking officer in the military with deep ties to Daniel Winters. Max's first move was simple. Disrupt Heller's operations, destabilize his influence, and send a clear message to Daniel. Iris and Lucas had already set up a meeting with one of Heller's subordinates, someone who could help them infiltrate the officer's secure facility. Max dressed quickly, donning a sleek black jacket and gloves, gear meant to be practical for a stealth operation. He couldn't afford any mistakes. I'll handle the logistics, Iris said, her tone sharp. You focus on getting in and getting out. If we get this right, Heller will be forced to reconsider his alliance with Daniel. Max nodded, his mind already racing with the details. The location was heavily guarded, but with his new combat focus and the skills he had been honing, he knew he could make it. Inside, the mission was as much about sending a message as it was about gathering intelligence. The infiltration. The night air was crisp as Max, Iris, and Lucas approached the military facility. They moved silently through the shadows, their steps careful and deliberate. Max's heart beat steadily, his focus razor sharp. He had been in dangerous situations before, but this felt different. The stakes were higher. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore, he was fighting for control of his future. Lucas led the way, pulling out a small device from his jacket. He quickly disabled the first set of security cameras and motion sensors, allowing them to slip through undetected. Stay close, Lucas whispered. Heller's office is on the top floor. We need to move fast. Max nodded, following him closely. Iris stayed behind, monitoring their progress from a secure location. The tension in the air was palpable. Max could feel his senses heightened, the combat focus amplifying his every movement. He was more aware of his surroundings than ever before. They reached the building's elevator shaft without incident, and Lucas set to work on hacking the elevator controls. The minutes felt like hours, but finally, the elevator dinged, signaling that they were ready to ascend. Max stepped inside, his pulse steady, but his mind was already working through the plan. The confrontation. The elevator doors opened, and Max stepped out, his footsteps silent on the polished floor. He moved swiftly, his eyes scanning the hallway. At the end of the corridor was Major Heller's office, a large, fortified space that was protected by multiple security measures. But, to Max, it felt like another obstacle to overcome. His focus was clear: get in, take what he needed, and get out without alerting the entire facility. Iris's voice crackled in his earpiece. You're close. Heller's not in the office yet. You have about 10 minutes. Max moved to the door, pulling out a small device from his pocket. With a few swift movements, the door clicked open, revealing a spacious, well-organized office. Max stepped inside, immediately noticing the stacks of files on Heller's desk. This was where the information would be. He moved toward the desk, rifling through the documents. There were details about military movements, names of key individuals in Daniel's network, and even plans for a future operation involving high-tech weapons. This was the leverage he needed. Just as he began to copy the files onto his device, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hall. Heller was back. The escape. Max's mind raced as he finished copying the data. There wasn't enough time to analyze it. He shoved the device into his pocket and moved quickly to the exit, just as the door to the office began to open. Heller was returning earlier than expected. Max took a deep breath, using the combat focus to heighten his senses once again. He crouched low, moving toward the window. The facility was located on the top floor, and Max could see a fire escape ladder just outside. With a quick glance to ensure Heller hadn't spotted him, Max dashed toward the window, opening it with ease. The cool night air rushed in as he climbed out and onto the fire escape. His heart pounded in his chest as he moved down the ladder, each step taking him further from the danger inside. By the time Heller had entered the office, Max was already out of sight, slipping into the shadows. System notification. As Max regrouped with Iris and Lucas in the safe house, the system chimed once again. Task completed. Disrupt Major Ryan Heller's operations. Reward granted. +10 popularity. Business acumen 4/10. Martial awareness 4/10. New weapon available. Tactical shotgun. Requires 40 popularity. Max couldn't help but smile. The mission had been a success, and now he was one step closer to dismantling Daniel Winter's network. His popularity had increased again, and the tactical shotgun was now within reach. But Max knew that the next phase of his plan would be even more dangerous. He had made his move, and Daniel would soon feel the consequences. Max leaned back in his chair, the weight of the situation settling in. He was no longer just a businessman, he was becoming a force to be reckoned with. End of Chapter 15. Chapter 16, The Rising Star. Max leaned back against the chair, eyes scanning the latest reports that Iris had sent him. The operation to destabilize Major Ryan Heller's connections had gone smoothly, and Daniel Winters was sure to feel the tremor soon. But that was just the beginning. Now, with each move Max made, the network he was building would begin to grow exponentially. As Max sat there, the ever-present pressure of his dual life weighed heavily on him. On the one hand, he was a young businessman trying to survive and thrive in a cutthroat world. On the other hand, he was a rising cultivator, grappling with the hidden forces of power that pulled the strings from the shadows. Every move he made, every decision, could increase or decrease his influence, his popularity, and his future. But one thing Max knew, fame wasn't just about being known. It was about earning trust. System notification. Task issued. Gain the trust of key figures. Reward. +10 popularity. Access to talismans and artifacts. *****. Mission progress. Current popularity. 47/100. Popularity effects. Your fame and influence are growing. People will start believing in your capabilities at critical moments. Max stared at the notification. Trust. The word echoed in his mind. Max had never been one to rely on others. He learned early that the world was full of betrayal. But now, as his popularity increased and the stakes got higher, he had to find a way to make people believe in him. Not just because of his power or influence, but because he could offer them something they needed. Something no one else could. With each task he completed, with each ally he gained, he had learned one truth. The key to growing popularity wasn't just power, it was building alliances and making others see him as indispensable. He had to be someone who people could rely on when everything fell apart. The belief of allies. The next day, Max met with his most trusted allies. Iris, Lucas, and a few others had gathered at a hidden location in the city, an old warehouse that had been repurposed for their meetings. The air was thick with tension, as everyone awaited the next move in their plan to disrupt Daniel Winters. I've been thinking about the long game, Lucas said, leaning forward on the table. We've made progress, but we're still up against a lot of power. Heller's network is just a small part of what Daniel has in store. Iris nodded in agreement. If we want to take him down, we'll need more than just muscle. We need trust, something people believe in, something that makes them think you can actually win, Max. Max's eyes narrowed. He'd been thinking along the same lines. He had the power to push forward with his plans, but without the belief of the people around him, his efforts would falter. If the right people didn't believe in him at the right time, his popularity wouldn't rise fast enough to secure the victory. He needed to show them he was more than just a business-minded young man. He needed to show them he was a leader. System notification. *****. New system option. Increase influence. Effects. Increase the belief of key figures in your capabilities. Trust boosts your popularity at critical moments. Cost. 20 popularity. Max clicked on the option instinctively. He knew what he needed to do. To truly rise, he had to make his allies feel that they could trust him with everything they had. Life, power, resources. And the moment he proved to them that he was more than just a businessman or a cultivator, his popularity would soar, unlocking even more opportunities. The trust-building process. That evening, Max held a private meeting with a handful of influential figures, some from the business world, others with connections to the underground. He sat across from each of them, keeping his posture open, confident, but not arrogant. Know you've all been watching me, Max said, his voice calm but firm. And know some of you have doubts about me, about what I am capable of. But the one thing I want to assure you of is this, we'll get us all to the top. Not just as individuals, but as a group. He looked at each of them in turn. In a world like this, trust is everything. You can have all the money, power, and connections you want, but if people don't believe in you, none of it matters. So I'm asking you, do you believe in me? The room went silent for a moment. Then, one by one, they spoke. Some were hesitant, but others, more experienced in the world of alliances and betrayals, could see the sincerity in Max's eyes. I'll back you, Max, said a man named Xavier, a former military strategist who had turned to the business world after a fallout with a major faction. I've seen a lot of people rise, but none like you. You know what it takes. Another ally, a woman named Freya, added, I trust you. But we, need to move fast. Daniel won't go down without a fight. Max nodded. This was exactly what he needed, belief. As they each pledged their trust in him, Max could feel a subtle shift. His popularity had increased again, but more importantly, his allies were starting to view him not just as a pawn or an opportunist, but as a leader. System notification. Task completed. Gain the trust of key figures. Reward. +10 popularity. Access to talismans and artifacts. *****. New items available. Talisman of Focus. Increases concentration and focus in combat. Cost. 40 popularity. Artifact of energy absorption. Absorbs energy from external sources and stores it for later use. Cost, 100 popularity. Max smiled. This was the turning point. He had earned their trust, and with it, his popularity had surged. He now had access to powerful tools that could help him take his power to the next level. The Talisman of Focus would enhance his concentration, perfect for situations requiring precision and control. The Artifact of Energy Absorption was a game changer. It could turn the tide of battle by giving him the ability to absorb and store energy, making him nearly unstoppable in combat. But as Max looked at the available items, he knew the most crucial factor wasn't just the talismans or artifacts. It was the belief of his allies. As long as they believed in him, they would be willing to fight with him, to support him, and together, they could bring Daniel Winters down. The path ahead. Max stood at the window of his apartment again, looking out over the city. His popularity was on the rise, but he knew that this was just the beginning. As he unlocked more powerful tools and gained more allies, the stakes would only get higher. Soon, the world would realize that Max was not just a rising star, he was someone who could change the future. But first, he needed to secure his position. Daniel Winters was still a threat, and Max had no intentions of slowing down. The future was his. End of chapter 16. Chapter 17, The Web Titans. Max stood in front of a large, oak conference table, his fingers drumming lightly on the surface. The room was dimly lit, the shadows from the blinds stretching across the polished floor. His trusted allies, Lucas, Iris, Xavier, and Freya, were gathered around, their faces serious as they reviewed the plans. Tonight marked a turning point. They had made progress in dismantling Daniel Winters' network, but now, the final confrontation was beginning to take shape. Daniel was no longer just a shadowy figure behind the scenes. He was aware of Max's growing influence, and with that awareness came the inevitable countermeasures. Max's mind was sharp, his trust-building efforts paying off as his popularity grew. Allies were beginning to believe in him, and he could feel their belief reflected in the rising tide of his own power. But now, it was time to shift the game entirely. It wasn't just about surviving or making moves, it was about leading the charge. System notification. Task issued. Set the stage for the final confrontation with Daniel Winters. Objective. Target the heart of Daniel's financial operations. Disrupt his primary income source. Reward. +20 popularity. Unlock artifact of Shadow Cloak. Max's eyes flickered over the notification. This was it, the moment where everything he had worked for could either soar to the next level or come crashing down. Taking down Daniel's financial operations was the key to throwing his entire network into chaos. It wasn't just about breaking his grip on power, it was about making a statement. Xavier, need you to leverage your connections, Max began, his voice steady. We're going after Daniel's investments in the tech sector. If we hit him there, we'll cripple his operations. Force him to retaliate. Once he reacts, we move in. Xavier, a man who had once navigated the military and business worlds with ease, nodded. I've got people on the inside who owe me favors. I'll have them pull the right strings. Max turned his attention to Freya. Freya, need you to track any shipments he's planning to move. If we can intercept a few of his key assets, we can make it seem like a series of bad luck strikes. She smiled darkly. Leave it to me. Know where to hit him hardest. Max's eyes met Lucas's as he continued. Lucas, want you to start laying the groundwork for the next step. Once we create enough chaos, we need to be ready to move on his personal assets. We have to make sure he doesn't have any way to regroup. The team nodded in unison, each person ready for the part they had to play. Max's mind was focused, and his popularity had continued to grow as a result of these alliances. Trust had been built, and now, they were ready to use it. System notification. ***** mission update. Popularity increased, 58/100ths. New weapon available. Tactical shotgun, requires 40 popularity. Artifact of Shadow Cloak unlocked, cost 100 popularity. Trademark. Max took a deep breath, watching as the system notified him of his increasing popularity. The tactical shotgun was now available for purchase, and so was the Artifact of Shadow Cloak. He knew these items would be essential in the coming operations, but there was a deeper significance to the rising popularity. As the belief in him solidified, the more people would step up to assist him when it mattered most. Max's phone buzzed, a message from LRIS flashing on the screen. The financial data you need is in place. Let's do this. Max glanced at the others. This is it. Everyone knows their role. It's time to set the stage. The target, Daniel Winters' financial empire. The following evening, Max and his team arrived at the high-rise building that housed one of Daniel Winters' most lucrative tech investments. The building gleamed with modern sophistication, a symbol of power and wealth. But to Max, it was just a target. Iris had already disabled the external surveillance systems, and Freya had procured the information they needed on Daniel's assets within the building. As they moved through the building's lower levels, Max felt the tension rise. There were whispers of danger all around, but his focus was unwavering. Iris, any signs of movement? Max asked through his earpiece, his voice calm. Nothing yet. We're clear for now. Just keep moving. Max led the group up to the tech vault, where Daniel's most sensitive investments were stored. It was a secure area, built to withstand a small army. But with Lucas's help, the doors opened with relative ease. Inside, rows of data servers linked with activity, the heart of Daniel's financial empire. Max walked up to the console, his fingers flying over the keyboard. A few seconds passed, then a simple command to redirect the funds hit the system. It wasn't a permanent solution, but it would buy them the time they needed. The next step was to pull out without being detected. Done, Max said, signaling the team. But as they prepared to leave, a faint click echoed through the corridor. Max froze. The confrontation. In the distance, the sound of footsteps grew louder. Max's mind raced. They were not alone. Someone had detected them, and now, the clock was ticking. Iris, we've been compromised, Max muttered, his eyes scanning the room for a way out. I'm sending backup now, Iris replied urgently. The door to the vault opened slowly, revealing a group of armed guards. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Max's popularity, his influence, and his rising reputation had not only made allies, it had made enemies who feared him. But it also gave him the leverage to control the situation. Max stepped forward, and in an instant, the tactical shotgun materialized in his hands, its sleek design a perfect match for his movements. The guards hesitated for a split second, and that was all Max needed. The first guard fell with a precise shot, the electrical discharge knocking him unconscious. Max moved quickly, his movements fluid and calculated, enhanced by the combat focus his popularity had earned. The guards rushed toward him, but with every move, Max anticipated their actions, his reflexes sharper than ever. System notification. Task completed. Disrupt Daniel Winters' financial operations. Reward, +20 popularity. Artifact of Shadow Cloak unlocked. Max took a deep breath as the last of the guards fell. The system's rewards had been granted, and Max's popularity soared yet again. He could feel the power building within him, the confidence of a man who knew the next move before anyone else. Artifact of Shadow Cloak. Max reached down and picked up the shimmering black cloak, feeling its energy pulsing through his fingers. The cloak was a gift for those who moved unseen, whose actions were calculated to perfection. It would be an asset in the coming battles, especially as Daniel Winters started to notice the cracks in his empire. Max turned to his team, his voice steady despite the chaos that had unfolded. Let's move. The game is far from over. End of chapter 17. Chapter 18. The Gathering Storm. Max stood on the balcony of his small apartment, gazing out over the city skyline. The lights of the city flickered beneath him, and for a moment, he allowed himself to relax, to breathe in the weight of the silence. It was rare that things felt still, but tonight, after the chaos of the previous mission, Max had earned a moment of peace. However, peace was fleeting. His phone buzzed in his pocket, the screen lighting up with a message from Iris. He didn't need to open it to know what it was about. Something big was coming. He could feel it in his bones. Max's popularity had surged after the operation on Daniel Winter's financial network, and now, the consequences were beginning to unfold. Allies were flocking to him, and enemies were sharpening their blades. He was becoming a target, not just from his enemies, but from those who saw potential in him, who wanted to control or manipulate him for their own ends. It was all a delicate balance. With a quick swipe, Max opened the message. Max, you need to prepare. Daniel knows. He's coming after you, and he's not alone. We've identified some of his key allies. We need to move now. Time is running out. Max's fingers tightened around his phone. Iris was always quick with information, and when she said, time is running out, it meant that Daniel was already plotting a counterattack. This wasn't just a business rivalry anymore. This was war. Max's system chimed, bringing his attention back to the screen. System notification. Urgent task. Defend against Daniel Winter's retaliation. Objective. Prepare for Daniel's attack by strengthening your defenses. Gather resources, form new alliances, and disrupt his retaliation efforts. Reward. Plus 3-0 popularity. Unlock special combat techniques. Max's heart beat faster, a surge of adrenaline mixing with the growing anticipation of what was to come. He knew this was the next phase. The battle for control was now on the horizon. Daniel Winters would not let him go easily, and Max had to be ready. Prepare for war, Max muttered to himself, his voice low but determined. The battle lines are drawn. Later that night, Max called an emergency meeting with his closest allies. He needed to act fast, and they needed to be ready. The fact that Daniel Winters was coming after him wasn't surprising. What worried him was how connected Daniel was. With his wealth and influence, he could make this a battle that spread far beyond what Max had anticipated. As his team gathered around the table, Max could see the concern in their eyes, but also the trust that had formed between them. This was no longer just about surviving, it was about winning. And to do that, they needed to stay one step ahead. Daniel won't just come at us with money, Max began, his voice steady. He'll come at us with power. The kind of power that goes beyond business. The kind of power that controls governments and militaries. Lucas spoke up, his voice calm. He's got connections in places we don't even know about. I've been digging, but his network runs deep. Max nodded. That's why we need to hit him where it hurts the most. We need to go after his allies, the ones who are most loyal to him. If we can disrupt his network, we can weaken his grip on everything. Xavier leaned forward, his brow furrowed. And we need to be prepared for retaliation. If Daniel goes after us, he'll do it with everything he has. We can't afford to be caught off guard. Freya's eyes were sharp. We've been working on getting the location of his key players. Have a few targets we can hit. We disrupt their operations, cut off their resources. It'll send a message. Max smiled slightly, a spark of confidence in his eyes. Iris, Xavier, Freya, you're with me. Lucas, need you to monitor the financial markets. If Daniel moves any of his assets, we need to know immediately. The team nodded in agreement. Max's mind was already working, calculating their next move. With his popularity rising and more allies at his side, he had options. But he knew he had to be careful. Every decision had consequences. System notification. **** Popular allies trust. Increased popularity will now affect the speed and effectiveness of your team's actions. Trust level with key allies, high. New allies available. 2 unlocked by increasing popularity. New task options available. Defensive measures, counterattack plan, ***. Max felt a surge of energy as his popularity points increased. The trust he had earned from his team was not just a reflection of his leadership, it was a sign of how far he had come. But with Daniel breathing down his neck, it was time to call in reinforcements. He was beginning to understand the true power of the system. Every decision, every task, added to his arsenal. The more popularity he gained, the more options opened up to him, from new skills and abilities to unlocking powerful items. But it wasn't just about the rewards, it was about the people who believed in him. They were his greatest asset. Task completion. Task, prepare for Daniel Winter's retaliation. Objective, secure your defenses, strategize a counterattack, and ensure your safety. Reward, plus 3-0 popularity, unlock special combat techniques. Task progress, ongoing. Max's new combat techniques unlocked. 1. Mind over matter. Description, temporarily boosts Max's ability to control his energy flow, increasing physical speed and strength in critical moments. Cooldown, 1 hour. 2. Aura shield. Description, creates a temporary energy barrier around Max, providing protection from physical and energy-based attacks. Duration, 3 minutes. Cooldown, 24 hours. 3. Energy disruption. Description, Max can disrupt enemy energy flow, temporarily weakening their abilities. Duration, 30 seconds. Cooldown, 1 hour. Max's mind raced as he reviewed the new techniques. These abilities would be crucial in the battles ahead. As Daniel's retaliation loomed, Max would need every advantage he could get. A dangerous game. The next day, Max sat in a hidden safe house with his team, finalizing their plans. Every movement had to be precise, every step calculated. This was no longer a simple fight for control. It was a war that could determine the fate of not only Max, but everything he had worked for. His popularity points were rising steadily, and with each step, his power grew. But as his fame increased, so did the targets on his back. This was the beginning of something far larger than any of them had anticipated. Max knew that in the days to come, he would need to rely on his friends more than ever. But he also knew this, if he played his cards right, if he could outmaneuver Daniel Winters and his allies, he would not only survive this battle, he would emerge stronger than ever before. End of chapter 18. Chapter 19, the counterattack begins. Max paced back and forth in the dimly lit room, his thoughts racing. The walls were adorned with maps, blueprints, and schedules, a visual representation of everything he and his team had been preparing for over the past few days. Every detail, every piece of information was essential now. Daniel Winters had already begun to retaliate, and Max could feel the heat building. It was only a matter of time before the first wave hit. The phone on the table buzzed. It was a message from Iris. Max, we've located one of Daniel's key allies. His name is Victor Orlov, a businessman who's heavily involved in the arms trade. He's not someone to underestimate. I've gathered intel. He'll be at a private auction tonight. If you strike now, we can disrupt his operations and send a strong message to Daniel. Max looked at the message, then at his team. They were ready. He could see the determination in their eyes. This was the moment to act. Victor Orlov was a powerful man, and taking him down would be a major blow to Daniel's network. But it was dangerous. Everything about this mission screamed risk. Iris, get me everything you can on the auction. We'll need to know the layout, security, and potential escape routes. We'll move on your signal, Max said, his voice calm and calculated. I'll handle it. Just get ready, Iris replied, and the message ended. System notification. Task update. Disrupt Victor Orlov's auction. Objective. Disrupt Victor's operations, extract key information about Daniel's network, and weaken his influence. Reward. +20 popularity, +10 influence in the black market. Risk. High. Victor is a well-connected individual with a powerful network. Max felt the familiar surge of excitement mixed with caution. High-risk tasks always came with great rewards, but they also meant unpredictable dangers. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was about survival, power, and the price of loyalty. If they succeeded, they would send a clear message to Daniel Winters. Max wasn't someone to be underestimated. All right, Max said, turning to his team. We've got one shot at this. We hit Victor hard, fast. And get out before things get too complicated. No mistakes. Freya, ever the strategist, spoke up. We'll need to split up inside. I'll handle the tech and hacking. Xavier, you'll take point with Max. Lucas, monitor the operation from the outside and be ready for extraction. Max nodded. Let's move out. The auction night. As the evening fell, Max and his team found themselves in the heart of the city's most exclusive district. The auction was being held in a luxurious, high-security building, its walls lined with expensive art and rare artifacts. The auction house was an elite gathering place for the rich and powerful, a perfect venue for Victor Orlov's operations. Max and Xavier entered the building under the guise of wealthy buyers, their attire sharp and flawless, their movements practiced. It was a masquerade, a game of deception and cunning. Inside, the atmosphere was opulent, filled with soft music, clinking glasses, and hushed conversations. But beneath it all, Max could feel the tension. The auction was more than just a display of wealth. It was a gathering of those who held power in the shadows. Freya, working behind the scenes, had already infiltrated the building's security system. She was like a ghost in the machine, her fingers dancing over her devices as she disabled cameras and unlocked doors for the team. Meanwhile, Iris, working remotely, fed them live updates on the movements of Victor Orlov and his associates. Max could feel his popularity growing as his reputation spread in the underground circles. More people were beginning to recognize him, and not just as a businessman. He was becoming a force to be reckoned with. System notification. **** Popularity increased. +10 popularity from successful infiltration and gathering of intel. Influence in the black market, +5. Public reputation, rising, trademark. Max made his way to the inner sanctum of the auction house, where Victor Orlov and his associates were making deals. He could sense the wealth and power emanating from the room, but he wasn't here to admire it. He was here to disrupt it. Let's make this quick, Max said to Xavier as they moved deeper into the room. As they approached Victor, Max noticed the businessman's cold, calculating gaze. Victor was no fool. He knew the stakes, and he wasn't about to let some upstart ruin his operation. Max's mind raced. The stakes were high, but he couldn't afford to hesitate. This was a pivotal moment. System update. **** New task option. Confront Victor Orlov directly. Engage Victor in a high-stakes negotiation or confrontation to extract critical information. Objective. Use popularity, charm, or force to break Victor's confidence and gain leverage. Reward. +30 popularity. Unlock special artifacts. Max considered his options. Confronting Victor directly would be risky, but it might be their best chance to gain valuable intel. He needed to act decisively. He turned to Xavier. Stay close. If things go south, we'll need backup. As they approached Victor, Max smiled, extending his hand in a gesture of camaraderie. Mr. Orlov, I'm Max. I heard a lot about you. It's a pleasure to finally meet the man behind the empire. Victor's eyes narrowed slightly, but he smiled back, shaking Max's hand. I am always interested in meeting new players in the game. But tell me, Max, what brings you here tonight? Max's mind was sharp, his voice confident. I'm here to discuss business. Believe we can be of mutual benefit. But first, think it's time we have a little chat about your connection to Daniel Winters. Victor's expression darkened instantly. The tension in the room thickened. System notification. **** Task update. Confront Victor Orlov successfully. Objective. Gain critical intel about Daniel Winters' operations and disrupt his network. Current progress. 50%. Trademark. Max knew that the next few minutes could change everything. If he played his cards right, he could gain the upper hand, but one wrong move could set off a chain reaction that would lead to disaster. End of Chapter 19. Chapter 20. The tension breaks. The tension in the room was palpable. Max stood face to face with Victor Orlov, their eyes locked in a silent battle of wills. Victor, a seasoned businessman who had built his empire through manipulation and ruthless efficiency, was no stranger to pressure. But Max wasn't the type of person to back down, not when everything he worked for was on the line. Max's hand remained extended, a small but confident smile on his lips. The auction room had fallen into an uneasy silence, the once lively conversations fading as people sensed the shift in the air. Victor's gaze flickered for a moment, but he took Max's hand, shaking it firmly, though there was no warmth in his grip. I must admit, Max, you have guts coming here, Victor said, his voice smooth, his accent thick. But I'm not sure you understand the game you're playing. You're meddling in something far larger than you realize. Max's smile didn't falter. Oh, understand it very well. Just think it's time someone like me shook things up a bit. Victor's lips curled into a thin, calculating smile. You're bold, I'll give you that, but you're still a boy playing in the big leagues. Do you think you can just waltz in and take what's mine? Max leaned in slightly, his tone lowering. It's not about taking what's yours. It's about stopping you from using what's mine. Victor's eyes narrowed as the words sank in. For a brief moment, Max saw a flicker of uncertainty, just a flash. But Victor recovered quickly, his calm demeanor returning. I've heard of you, Max, Victor said, his voice cool, almost dismissive. You've been making waves in the business world, but doubt you have what it takes to challenge me, let alone Daniel Winters. Max's grip tightened subtly. His popularity was rising, and he knew that now, more than ever, he needed to leverage everything at his disposal. He could sense the fear in Victor's eyes, buried beneath his pride. The man was no different from the others Max had faced. He had power, but it was fragile. System update. **** Popularity increased. +15 popularity from successful confrontation and maintaining composure. Influence with the black market, +5. Opponent's fear level increased. Trademark. Max straightened up, giving Victor a knowing look. You're right about one thing. I'm not afraid of you or Daniel, but you've underestimated the power of my network, Victor. You're not the only one with connections. And right now, my influence is growing faster than you realize. Victor's jaw clenched, his smile faltering slightly. You think you're untouchable. This ISNTA game. You're playing with forces that will crush you if you don't know your place. Max's gaze turned icy. Know my place better than you think. And I am not afraid to push back when necessary. System notification. ***. New task available. Break Victor's confidence. Apply pressure on Victor Orlov, forcing him to give up critical intel regarding Daniel Winter's operations. Objective. Use your popularity and negotiation skills to crack Victor's defenses. Reward. +30 popularity. Unlock special artifacts. Gain intel on Daniel Winter's network. Max's mind raced. This was it. He had the upper hand, and now, he had to press the advantage. Victor was rattled, and with each passing moment, his confidence was eroding. Max knew that one more push would bring everything to the surface. Don't care about Daniel Winters, Victor. He's nothing more than a stepping stone in my path, Max said, his voice cold. But you're a liability. You'll either help me bring him down, or I'll make sure you're the next one he discards. The room went silent as Victor's face hardened. The words were sharp, precise, and they hit their mark. Max could see it in Victor's eyes. The businessman was weighing his options, calculating his risks. But Max had already planted the seed of doubt, and once doubt took root, it was only a matter of time before Victor would crack. Finally, Victor let out a low laugh, the tension in his body breaking. You think you can control this, don't you? Fine, you want to play hardball, Max. I'll give you the information you want. But know this, once you've crossed me, there's no going back. System update. ***** task progress. Break Victor's confidence. Current progress, 80%. Bonus reward. Unlock tactical combat skill. Max's heart raced. He had pushed Victor to the edge. He could feel the endgame coming, but there was no turning back now. Tell me what you need to know, Victor, Max said, his voice unwavering. I'm not interested in your games. Want the truth about Daniel Winters, his entire network. Victor hesitated, but then, with a reluctant sigh, he leaned in closer. All right, you want the truth. Daniel is moving assets, more than you think. He's got people everywhere, Max. In governments, in militaries, in the black market. He's untouchable because he controls everything from the shadows. But here's the thing, you're not the first to think you could take him down. I've seen others try, and fail. Max's eyes narrowed. And who else has tried? Victor's voice dropped lower. There's a group, a coalition of powerful figures. They've been trying to undermine Daniel for years, but he always stays one step ahead. But now you've caught his attention. And that's a dangerous game to play. System notification. Intel gained. Daniel Winters' network is extensive, with key figures embedded in high places across multiple sectors. A shadowy coalition has been attempting to challenge him for years. Additional intel unlocked. Key figures in Daniel's network. Trademark. Max's mind whirred as the pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place. Daniel Winters wasn't just a businessman, he was a mastermind pulling the strings from the shadows. And now, Max had a glimpse of his web. But Victor had given him more than just names. He'd given him a map to victory. System update. Task completion. Break Victor's confidence. Reward. +30 popularity. +10 influence in the black market. Unlock special artifacts. Shadow dagger. Phantom cloak. Trademark. Max's popularity points surged, and with them came new options. His influence in the black market had grown, and he now had access to new powerful artifacts. Victor, Max said, his voice cold once again. They outlived your usefulness. Leave now, before change my mind. Victor didn't argue. He stood, his face pale, and with one last zero okay, he left the room, disappearing into the night. End of chapter 20.